was supposed to do, and I loved dance music before I even had the words to kind of to put it into. And I spent my whole life chasing it. I chased it before I knew what its name was, and then once I knew what its name was, I chased it even harder. And you know, I gave up a lot to make this my life. I gave up husbands and houses and jobs and careers that could have been, and really sort of single-mindedly pursued this one thing until finally I got my hands around its neck and held it down. Who can say why one person loves a thing more than all the other things?
It was always kind of there. I mean, I grew up in the 90s, so electronic music wasn't anything that you've never heard of before. You know, it wasn't like out of reach. It wasn't something that only the heads did. It was like you saw the Love Parade on the television or something like that. So I always kind of liked it. So yeah.
Comme beaucoup de gens, je crois, moi j'étais très influencée par le disco. J'ai toujours été une fan de disco et de pop, de chansons. Mais je faisais de la musique expérimentale à la base. Très expérimentale même. Des longues pièces qui n'en finissent plus. Puis ouais, progressivement à travers le disco, j'avais un projet avec David Christian, qui est un musicien, un pionnier d'électronique à Montréal, qui a été un peu mon mentor dans la musique électronique, qui m'a fait découvrir les séquenceurs, les instruments avec lesquels je travaille.
Je sais ce que tu caches sous ton
I can remember having a tape cassette, you know, a Walkman, where you could cut out the various equalizer, the frequencies, and like kind of cutting out like 4 beats like you would when you're DJing. Even before I knew that was like a thing. You know, I was like, that sounds good. I'll do it like this. And then I would like make little tapes where I would like try to mix things together between tape cassettes. Before I had any concept of this as a thing. I don't know, it's just my brain was made for it.
When I was about 19, I went to a record shop and bought the first album by Radioactive Man. And I didn't know who he was. I didn't know that it was electronic music. I just saw it was a CD actually. I saw the CD, I picked the CD and I bought it, and I found out that it's an amazing electro album. I didn't even know what kind of music it was, where to place it and what the name for it was. But yeah, I accidentally bought a great classic electro album when I was 19.
En jouant au festival Mutec à Montréal, puis en commençant à aller voir aller dans des raves, aller dans des afters, je me suis rendu compte que j'aimais vraiment la techno.
Quel gâchis. C'est fini. Il n'y a plus de bonne raison pour faire la fête.
Je me suis beaucoup intéressée à la early techno de Détroit, tout ce qui vient de Détroit. Puis après, éventuellement, des trucs plus froids, plus modernes, plus européens. Puis en même temps, parallèlement à ça, j'ai toujours aimé le hip-hop ou le funk, le disco.
I was a really weird kid. I would tape songs off TV, and then eventually I made my mom take me to the mall to buy the cassette single of that, and then when I got my first CD player, I got World Click, and that's like a legit dance album. And I was like, holy crap, this actually exists. you know, and there was a lot of records that fell into that period where it was like learning that Santa Claus was real, you know? And I swear to God, I was out of high school in 3 seconds. Like, as soon as I figured out that there was somewhere where you could go do that, I was like, bye, I'm done. This is stupid. I am not gonna stay here. I'm gonna figure out any way out of this I can. I don't have a second more time for this nonsense. And I was in New York, I was in Detroit, I was in Chicago by the time I was like 15. I was clubbing. I was in like the Palladium, I was in raves, I was all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, I remember running into like Michael Alec as a kid. Like, I was out there. And I'm telling you, when I had braces, I mean, I was a tiny kid. These pictures of me, I thought I was so grown too. I look at these pictures of myself, I'm like, you are 12, girl. You look nuts. What was anybody doing letting me into a party?
I started to study systematic music science, which is basically the mathematics, the physics, the biology of making music, consuming music. So, like, how do you perceive music? How like your ears, your brain. How do you build a synthesizer? That kind of stuff. So a very kind of like science-based type of study, rather than like a classic music study where it's more about composers and structures of song. Oh, we did a lot of song structures as well. You know what I mean? It was like a lot of mathematics and stuff, but I didn't really study it. I stopped after a year.
Les gens citent souvent David Lynch par rapport à mon travail, puis ils ont raison en quelque sorte, mais c'est plus l'influence sur ma musique. Dans ma musique, c'est vraiment les compositions du compositeur Badalamenti qui a fait Twin Peaks, Mulholland Drive, Wild at Heart, Firewalk With Me, Blue Velvet. Pour moi, c'est de la musique magique, c'est magnifique.
Asking a woman if she's had to fight sexism is like asking a fish if it's ever been in water. I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff that we all just sort of live through and accept as the cost of doing business. But water is still wet, then we still live on Earth, which is a crappy pace for a lot of women. A lot of them aren't making very much money, and they're doing more work than anybody else, and most of us get the crap kicked out of us by a dude at some point in our lives, usually more than once.
To be honest, I never really experienced anything really bad. You do get sexism, and it comes in various forms. I remember I played a festival and I spoke to this guy, and we talked about music, and he said, what kind of music do you play? And I said, like, oh yeah, like acid. And he said, like, oh, what, like 150 BPM acid? I was like, no, a little bit slower. It's like, no, that doesn't exist. I was like, yes, it does. It's like, sweetheart, don't tell me. You know, I've been going to parties for 20 years. It doesn't exist. And I was like...
Je sais pas, je viens de Montréal, c'est une ville très, très ouverte d'esprit, j'imagine. Je me suis jamais sentie ostracisée parce que j'étais une femme. Peut-être des fois en tournée, peut-être parfois, mais c'est pas assez pour en faire un combat. Je veux dire, oui, certains moments, j'ai senti quand j'arrive dans une salle de concert, puis il y a des tensions avec l'ingénieur de son, ou peut-être, oui, au début, je me suis sentie pas tout à fait prise au sérieux, mais ça dure jamais très longtemps. C'est des choses que j'ai senties, mais pas assez pour en faire un combat. C'est pas... Il y a des choses beaucoup plus injustes dans le monde, d'après moi. Moi, je me sens très privilégiée, j'ai pas à me plaindre. Peut-être que si je venais d'un autre pays, par contre, il y a des... Je me sens très chanceuse. Puis je pense que être une femme nord-américaine, c'est quand même une chance. On peut faire ce qu'on veut, aller où on veut, faire qu'est-ce qu'on veut. Certaines femmes n'ont même pas la chance de s'exprimer, n'ont même pas la chance de jouer un instrument de musique. Mais pour ce qui est de mon expérience dans l'industrie musicale, ça va, j'ai pas à me plaindre.
At this point, the way that things have gone in the last year, I'm probably not a very good, gal on the street to ask how things are going for women at the baseline of dance music, I would say that question needs to be asked of, ask a black woman who's doing a weekly residency for $150 how her world is going. Because that's gonna be a better reflection of what's actually happening than for me, which is totally unrealistic. I'm in some other land where people care about what I want, and that's not the reality for virtually anyone. And I understand that I'm in Candyland. I'm enjoying the hell out of it, but it's not realistic, and it's not a reflection of what it's like for most women.
You know, you get people that they look down at you, probably because you're a girl, maybe because I was a young girl, which makes it even worse to get respect. But I don't really experience bad things a lot. I mean, very rarely I hear like a comment of someone where I think like, you're just really stupid. But I never experienced anything really bad. But then I come from a big city in Germany. I live in a little bubble where everybody is kind of quite well educated and open-minded and stuff. I don't know what it's like if you come from a smaller town or if you come from a different country. So I've probably been quite lucky not to have to deal with things like that too much.
You'd be hard-pressed to find a woman that's making 100% of what her peers make and has had only loving and affectionate relationships with men her whole life. I'd like to know what that woman is like. She would probably be lovely to hang out with, but like an alien, We would have nothing in common.
Je pense que pendant très longtemps, la société telle qu'elle est ne permettait peut-être pas aux femmes de se mettre autant de l'avant que maintenant. Mais je pense que c'est quelque chose de tout à fait normal qui m'étonne pas. C'est pas un combat pour moi non plus. Je veux dire, la musique reste une musique. Je pense que j'essaie de pas jamais... Je trouve ça bizarre, les gens qui disent « Ah ouais, c'est bon pour une fille » ou « Ah ouais, on l'a bookée parce que c'est une femme. » La musique, c'est de la musique. La musique ne devrait pas être jugée pour le sexe de la personne qui l'a faite. La musique devrait être jugée pour sa qualité. Et puis... je crois que les femmes ont autant de place que les hommes à tous les niveaux, en fait.